was the news this morning that actually is not news. So I'm going to talk about this now, but I don't think that we're going to spend a lot of time on it today because I don't think it's a thing. John Keim has a line in his story. And by the way, Cakes, you'll hear from at 5 o'clock as he joined Logan and I to Take Command today. That will be Not My Beat at 5 o'clock. Nice long discussion about Sam Howell with John Keim and Logan Paulson. So that's coming up at 5. But in that story, he mentions, as kind of a transposing of the two sides of how the Commanders have approached quarterback this year and how they approached quarterback last year, that this year, where they've been pretty content with Sam Howell and then ultimately getting Jacoby Brissett in, last year, they unturned every stone. They tried at all of the trades and everything you hear about. They went so far as to check in to make sure that Andrew Luck didn't come out or didn't want to come out of retirement. Oh, well, that's cool. All right, kept on reading. Didn't think twice about it when I read John's story over the weekend. Apparently Jim Irsay did, and apparently others in the NFL did. Although maybe they did once Jim Irsay did. And I doubt, do I think that Jim Irsay genuinely sat down and read John's story on ESPN.com? No, unfortunately. John probably got many clicks for that story. It was very well done, and you should read it. However, I don't think Jim Irsay actually read the story. Do I think that he potentially reached out to some other people around the organization? I would think so. I would think if I'm Jim Irsay and I heard that, the Commanders reached out about Andrew Luck, I would call my general manager, Chris Ballard, and be like, hey, man, what happened there? And if that's all that happened, guess what? The Commanders went through the proper process. Hey, we're looking for a quarterback. Has Luck said anything about being willing to come out of retirement? Because we would trade a lot for him. And then Ballard goes, no, and if he does, we're not trading him. He's our quarterback. Okay, thanks. See ya. If that's all that happened, that's not tampering. Let's say it went another level. Let's say that the Commanders reached out to Andrew Luck's agent and said, hey, man, we're doing a lot of due diligence on quarterbacks. Any chance that Luck would come out of retirement? Technically, I don't think that's allowed. Technically. It also happens all the time. Because that's what agents are kind of for, is to not skirt the rules, but to understand the market, right? This is something we talked about with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson not having an agent meant that he could not feel out the market in the way before going into free agency that other quarterbacks could. It meant that his negotiation with Baltimore was a little more difficult because he wasn't having those kinds of conversations with other teams to understand what kind of offer sheet he could potentially get. Now, it worked out for Lamar in the end, to the extent that, him missing out on the money he could have made if he signed 2 years ago is working out for Lamar, but he got a very good contract that's fair market value and he can be proud of, and, the 3% extra he gets to keep or give to, his family who helped him negotiate it. I think it was his mom. Great. Excellent. Good for Lamar. But for this situation, that's not like what Miami did. That's not what other teams who have been caught tampering are in trouble for. Reaching out to an agent, being told no, and moving on with your life is something that happens in the NFL all the time, and there's 0%. To the extent that Ian Rappaport, who is as plugged in as anyone in the entire league, today was on the Pat McAfee show in studio, which, by the way, was hilarious. Because Ian is, we're all used to seeing Ian in, the suit and tie, all buttoned up, and he's in his same room that he's always in on NFL Network. And now he's, in a loose-fitting T-shirt on Pat McAfee's show, trying to be cool guy on Pat McAfee's show. It's just kind of a funny visual. Good for Ian. Get out of the studio every once in a while. Go hang out with your guy. But he's on there being like, I don't even think that's illegal. And in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah, it's definitely not. You can't inquire about guys that are under contract with their teams with their agents. It's not. That is technically tampering. But if all you do, especially for a guy that's retired, right? This is not a pending free agent. This is not an active player. You're not trying to force a trade. it is a guy who's retired to go, hey, do you know if Andrew would be interested in coming out of retirement? No, he's definitely retired. Okay, thanks. That's punishable by nothing. That's punishable by, at most, league memo. Reminder, if a player is on the reserved retired list, you still must inquire about them for a trade like you would any active player. You have to contact the team. You cannot contact a representative. Thanks, Roger Goodell. This is a nothing burger. Jim Irsay doesn't even, and I don't even know if that happened. For all I know, the way, honestly, I read the story, the way I read it, the way John wrote it, to me, and in talking to him slightly about this on the podcast this morning, I don't think he knows exactly what the inquiry was. Like, I think someone kind of haphazardly mentioned, like, yeah, we even looked at Andrew Luck. The way I read it, though, was, and why I didn't think it was anything until Jim Irsay started tweeting about it, was that they reached out to the Colts and were like, what about Luck? And the Colts were like, no. It's like, okay, Wentz? And then they went on with the Wentz trade. That's the normal course of business. There's nothing here. I'd be stunned. Now, do I have any inside information? And thus could I look really stupid if in a week, 2 weeks, a month, sometime next January, there's a report, or not a report, there's a investigation, and all of a sudden it comes out that the Commanders, reached out to Luck, and, that because of the way the rule is written, the letter of the law, they're automatically, docked a certain number of draft picks, and, this nothing burger that I'm telling you about now turns out to be a something burger. I'm not going to rule it out entirely. Wouldn't want to bet my life or loved ones or significant amount of money on it. But this reads like a giant, absolute nothing burger. And so that's all we're going to talk about it today. I'm not interested in entertaining the hysteria radio topic because it's a low-hanging fruit. It's just dumb. Let's let it be what it is, which is nothing and Jim Irsay freaking out because Jim Irsay freaks out about stuff all the time. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. I should have said this off the top of the show. Dan Orlovsky, ESPN NFL analyst, is going to join us next to talk about the guy who is going to play quarterback for the Commanders in 2022, Sam Howell, and how Eric Bieniemy can help him be a lot better than a lot of Dan's colleagues in national punditry feel like he can. That's next on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.